Torah Or, Parshas Vayechi. On the top of the page it says Vayechi, Daf Mem Zayin, column 1, or page 93. This is a maimer of the Baal HaTanya on Vayechi, from the year, I believe, Tovkuf Samachei, which means 1805. And it begins with these words, Chachlili einayim miyayin, uleven shinayim micholov. Red-eyed from wine and white-toothed from milk. It's part of the blessings of Yaakov Avinu, our patriarch Yaakov Jacob, when he's on his deathbed and he speaks to each one of his children and gives them a special message and a particular blessing. When it comes to the tribe of Yehuda, Yaakov Avinu blesses that the produce, the vegetation, the farms, the fields in the territory, in the plot of Yehuda and Eretz Yisrael will be filled with abundance. So this means that the vines will be extremely prosperous and abundant, so there'll be a lot of grapes. The vines will produce an abundance of grapes and also great quality grapes, which of course will result in extraordinary, delicious and tasteful wine. There will also be many healthy animals grazing there in the territory of Yehuda, which means there will also be a lot of milk. So Yaakov Avinu says, Chachlili einayim, red-eyed, miyayin, from drinking wine, there'll be so much wine to drink, uleven shinayim, and white teeth, shinayim is teeth, leven shinayim, lavan is white, the teeth will be white from milk, from chalav. That's what Yaakov blesses. So like everything in Torah, it can be understood on different levels. There's the literal interpretation. Rashi says, Chachlili means red. Rashi says, Loshen Oidem. The word Chachlili means red. We'll soon see what the Gemara in Ksuvas, Daf Kuf Yud Aleph, says about the word Chachlili. That will be later in the Maimer. The Gemara says that Chachlili is a combination of two words. Cheich li li. 3 words. Cheich li li. Cheich is the taste buds of a person. So he says, all the taste buds that taste this wine say, li, for me, give me more, li, chach li. The literal interpretation of chach li is red. So Yaakov Avinu is saying the eyes will be red from wine. Rashi says, you see that people who drink wine, einayim ma'adimin, their eyes become red. And then uleven shinayim mechalav literally means, Rashi says there'll be so much milk because there'll be such good pasture, there'll be such good fields for the animals, for the flock to graze, le'edreit tzayin, for the flock, for the cows, for the sheep, for the goats, etc., to graze. So therefore there will be so much milk so that the teeth will become white. That's the literal interpretation. This Maimer explains the deeper dimension of what Yaakov was telling Yehuda. He wasn't just talking to him about the physical wine and the physical milk. He was also presenting a deeper layer of, there's a deeper layer of interpretation, a deeper layer of significance in this blessing. Hine, because of course you can ask the question, why does he speak about wine and milk? Speak about a lot of things. So yes, milk is a blessing, and wine is a great blessing. But why does Yaakov speak about this? About these particular blessings? And also, he could say there'll be a lot of wine, there'll be a lot of milk. He focuses on the fact how it's going to affect the eyes and how it's going to affect the teeth. You could say you should be blessed with a lot of wine, a lot of milk. It's certainly very poetic. He doesn't just say you'll have a lot of wine. The eyes will be red from wine and the teeth will be white from milk. So it's not just, there's a poetic component to it, but there's also a deep meaning why he speaks about these particular aspects when he wants to discuss the abundance of wine and milk. It's a fascinating pasuk. This is in the book of Shoftim, in the book of Judges, in the Nevi'im, in the prophets, where wine is defined, my wine, kireshi is my wine, which brings joy to God and to men. Now we know that wine is considered a substance, a beverage that is joyous. We use it, we drink it in times of joy, and there's a certain element of wine that rejuvenates the spirit or sometimes helps elevate people's moods. Of course, it has to be in the right proportions. We're not talking about, God forbid, the disease of alcoholism, when all there is alcohol to run away from all your problems. But wine is a beverage that's associated with joy. But lahavin mao b'chinas yainam sameich elikim. But what's the meaning? The pasuk says that yayin brings joy to the heart of God. Hashem drinks. First of all, what does it mean to bring joy to Hashem? And how does wine have this potency to make God joyous? First of all, what does it mean? He asks two questions. What does it mean that it's Mesameach Elikim? And how does it have such a koyach? What's the secret of wine? So on a literal level, Rashi brings over there in the pasuk, and the Metzudas, the commentators say, that we have a very interesting halach, and that is, Einoim Shira Ela Ala Yayin. The Levium, the Levites used to have a concerto every day in the Beis Hamikdash, and they would start singing during the Nesachim, when the wine was being poured. The communal offerings were brought with Nesachim, which means with wine libations. The Kohen would pour wine onto the altar. This was called Nesachim, Nisuch Hayayin, the pouring of the wine. On Sukkot there was also the pouring of the water. But every day of the year, Shabbos, Yom Tov, during the day there was the Nesachim. The Nesachim are the wine libations. And that's when the Levium would start singing. So what do you see from here? That somehow giving the Mizbeach, the altar wine, brought out joy. It brought out a sense of music and ecstasy and passion and simcha and song. That's when they would start singing. So we see from here that it's Mesameach Elikim. There's something about the wine, kevayachal, so to speak, that brings simcha to Hashem. What does it mean? What does it even mean? And how does it have this power? Hine Amru, the Gemara says in Erev v'nichnas yain yatzasayt. Wine comes in and secrets come out. You know, when people drink wine, they somehow, their defenses get a little looser, they open up a little bit, and their secrets come out. When somebody is more inebriated, they'll tell you things and they'll share things that usually they don't share with themselves or with others. And the Gemara says that the gematria, the numerical value of yayin, is 70. Yud, Yud, Nun is 10, 10, and 50. Soid is 60. Vav and Dalet is 70 altogether. So yayin and soid have the same numerical value because when wine comes in, secrets come out. What does all of this mean? So in this Maimer, the Baal Tanya is going to explain this on a deeper psychological, emotional, and metaphysical, spiritual level. We see that in Torah there are two aspects. Torah is defined as wine, Torah is defined as milk. Sometimes Torah is also defined as water. Sometimes Torah is also defined as bread. Torah is given different names, different metaphors that describe Torah. But we see in one of the psukim, Yeshaya Hanavi, Perik Nun Hey, uses wine and bread as a metaphor for Torah. Kediksiv. The Navi tells us, Yeshaya, the beginning of chapter 55, go purchase and eat, and you don't need money. You don't have to pay a price. You can purchase yourself wine and milk. Now, who ever heard of buying wine without money? And milk without money? It costs money. There's the labor of production. It costs money. Even in the olden days, before there was the concept of money, which is pretty early, there was still barter. But the Navi here, the Mefarshim says, is also talking about spiritual wine and spiritual milk. You don't need money. You don't have to pay. You don't have to pay to learn here. You could come to learn in the morning. You may have some technical difficulties. You have to stick it out, but you don't have to pay. Yayin v'chalav. What are these? Why is Torah compared to wine? Why is Torah compared to milk? Talking about milk. The explanation is there's a tale of two loves. We speak of avas olam, avarab. Avas olam literally means eternal love or worldly love. Avarab means abundant love. And you know, every morning before Kriyat Shema, the second blessing that our sages instituted to say before Shema begins with the words Ahavas olam ahavtanu Hashem Elokeinu chem l'gdoyle v'serech amalta aleinu. Avas olam, an eternal love, Hashem, have you loved us. You have loved us with an eternal love. Avas olam. But there are other versions. In the Ashkenaz Sidurim, the text is not Avas Olam, Avarabba, Avarabba. And it's really a question. In the morning we say Avas Olam, and at night, before Kriya Shema, the second blessing, do we say Avas Olam or do we say Avarabba? And there's two different versions. This is discussed in Gemara and Brachas and in Taisvus and the Rishonim there. Do we say Avas Olam or do we say Avarabba? Taisvus brings, I think it's on Daf Yud Beis and Brachas, that some have the custom to say in the morning Avas, to say in the morning one and in the evening another one. In other words, you choose between Avas Olam and Avarabba. Nusach Svard is Avas Olam. Others say always Avarabba. Some again interchange between the morning and the evening. But there's two types of love. There's Avarabba. Rabba means great, abundant, like Rav is a lot. And Avas Olam literally means eternal love. What's the difference between these two loves? So the Balatanya says, Avas Olam hi Ava Hagluya. Avas Olam is an Ahava, a love that is more accessible, it's more revealed. Va'avarabba Ava Misuteres. Avarabba is a love that is more concealed, it's less accessible. What does it mean, less accessible, more concealed? He's going to explain. But why are we saying this? Why would we say that Avarabba, which means great love, is concealed love? It's less accessible. What is the meaning of this? Why do we say Avas Olam is more revealed and Avas Olam is more concealed? What does concealed mean? Does concealed mean you don't know about it? Does concealed mean you can't have access to it, or it's harder to have access to it? What does it mean, concealed and revealed? Achine, the explanation in all of this is Avas Olami, Ava Shenilkecha me Olamas. The word Avas Olam is usually translated, what does Olam mean? Olam means La'olam Vad, eternity. But the word Olam actually means the world, right? Melech HaOlam, the king of the world. Olam is the world. Chayav Adam Loimer B'Shvili Nivra HaOlam. Because of me, the world was created. Olam is the term that we use in the Holy Tongue in Hebrew for the world. Olam. Avas Olam, so it's also translated as eternal, forever. La'olam, it's for good, it's for eternity. But the actual basic translation of the word Olam is the world. So Avas Olam means a love of the world. What does it mean, a love of the world? So this is very, very meticulous and exceptionally profound. That Avas Olam is the love of the world. Or the way the Alter Rebbe puts it, Ava Shenilkecha me Olamas. It's the love that's taken from the world. It's the love that's generated and produced from life, from the world, from our world that we inhabit. It's the passion that we generate. It's the love, it's the ecstasy we experience, and it's taken from the olam, from the world itself, which is also why it is such a profound love of the world and of life. But there's love of the fake world and there's love of the true world. Whenever I'm in love with something, I have to ask if this love is a distraction of reality or this is love of reality. There is a love of the fake world. In other words, I substitute real reality with fake reality because I have a void. All types of addictions and cravings where I become attached to something that may be unhealthy and unproductive, I may call it a love of life and a love of the world, but it's really running away from life and the world. It's I hate the world and I hate life, and therefore I have to fill myself with other stuff that are pust and vis, that are empty and destructive, or meaningless or insignificant. Avas Olam is the love of the real world, the love of life, the real celebration of life. It's the love to Hashem that's taken from the world, as he's going to explain. Tahainu machmas hisbainanus, when a person becomes truly aware. The word hisbainanus is used very often in the works of the Balatanya, and it comes from the word bina, like we say in the morning, we're saying bilibeinu bina lahavin lahaskil. Hisbainanus is the ability to be maven, the ability to meditate, to be mindful, to contemplate, to internalize, to become aware of something in a very real way. Dahainu machmas hisbainanus, as a result of the meditation, and this is a meditation, it takes time to internalize this. The awareness that Hashem renews every day the creation. We say this again in the morning, right before Avas Olam. It's interesting. He brings this statement of davening. Where do we say it? We say it at the end of the bracha Yotzer Amayris, which is the first blessing before Shema. It finishes, HaMechadesh betuvoy b'chol yom tamid masa bereishis ka'amor la'oisei oyrim gedolim ki lo'olam chazdoi baruch atah Hashem Yotzer Amayris. I did the nusach of the Balatanya. I know many texts add Ur Chadash Al Tzion Tayir, v'niske, kolana b'mheira la'oire, we ask to be able to see the light of Zion, the new light going on Zion. The Alter Rebbe took that out from his Nusach HaTfilah, and the reason he explains is because it's already discussed. It's discussed in Poskim if it should be there or not. But in his Nusach, he took it out based on the Nusach HaRizal because he said we are focused here on the light of creation, right? Baruch Atah Hashem Yoitzer HaMa'oros Yoitzer Oir V'Rechoshech. So we're focused on the light of the past. This is not the bracha focused on the light of the future. Or Chadash Al Tzion Torah. In any case, over there we say that Hashem renews every day the work of creation. Hamachadesh b'tova. When a person could really be aware of this, and it's not so easy because we become entangled and bogged down by the stresses and the disappointments and the frustrations of life. So I don't even have the mental space and the energy to tune into the miracle of creation because I am so entangled and enmeshed and entrenched in my worries and my anxiety and my stress. So let's say something disappointing happened yesterday or happened this morning or happened last night, whatever it is, or happened last week. So very often I'm just living there. I'm living in that space, recycling it in my mind, rehashing it again and again and again. And I can't extricate myself from it. So how can I be open to the miracle of creation right now? There's no right now. There's just yesterday or 2 days ago or a week ago. And sometimes it's 30 years ago. And that's where I'm still stuck. So I'm stuck in this repetitive cycle, in this orbit that doesn't allow me to emancipate myself and really be present and open to the world right now, to life right now. How do we do this? It's not so easy. Some people, maybe it comes more natural, but sometimes it takes very, very serious avodah because there may be really something disappointing. And nonetheless, even if there's something disappointing, the way of dealing with it is asking myself, what is my mission right now to fix it, to make sure it doesn't happen again in the future, rather than, and this is important, my dear friends, the disappointment of yesterday triggering old stories about myself that put me into a state of paralysis and don't allow me to live in the now. I hope you understood what I said. If not, you could rewind the shir and listen to it again. So this is the concept of Mechadish B'tuv. And Hashem creates the world every single day from nothing to something. And this comes from His Malchus, from His characteristic, so to speak, called Hashem's Malchus, Hashem's leadership, Hashem's kingship, Hashem's love, Hashem's desire for a relationship. We say, Ein melech b'lo yam. Rabbeinu B'chaya says, it says in Svarim, there's no king without subjects, meaning leadership requires a relationship. It's like a marriage. You need to have somebody else in your life. So this is, the whole world comes from Malchus. So every day, it says, the Alter Rebbe says it, that every day Hashem creates the whole world once again from nothing to something. Every day creation is something new. And as the Baal Shem Tov said, it's not just every day, it's every single moment. Every day we feel it in a tangible way. As dawn breaks and the sun rises, you have that experience of freshness, a new beginning, Anayeh Tag, a new day. I told you once the story about Anayeh Tag. And that's the reason really why Hashem created the concept of sleep. Why do we need so much sleep? So you say, well, our body needs our 8 hours or 7 hours, whatever you get. But the truth is, why did Hashem create a body that it needs so much sleep? In order to be able to survive and replenish its energy and maintain its health, Be'ezer Hashem. The answer is to be able to experience His chachos in life, to be able to experience newness in life, to be able to wake up in the morning and say, it's a new day. A new day doesn't mean I forgot everything that happened yesterday, everything that happened 5 years ago. A new day means, however, I don't allow the past to define the present. I don't live in the past. Creation is happening right now. There's something right now. Can I be open to the opportunities and the miracles of this present moment, rather than rehashing an old narrative and remaining paralyzed in that narrative and by that narrative. Ki malchuscha malchus kol olamim ksiv. The pasuk says, we say it in Ashrei every day, a few times a day, malchuscha malchus kol olamim shaltucha b'chol dar v'dar, which means your malchus means literally your kingship, is the kingship of all the worlds, which basically means that we're saying malchuscha, it's your malchus that pervades all the worlds. You have a melech, a king, who is in control over his zip code, his country, his state, his city, his neighborhood, his area, himself, and sometimes the bigger the king, the less control over himself. Malchuscha malchus kol olamim. Your malchus, Hashem, extends to all the worlds. In other words, all of reality is an expression, all the worlds, all the universes, and all the worlds within a person, and all the worlds within a community of people, because everybody has their world. You have your world, your spouse has her world or his world, your children, everyone is in their world. We live in the same planet, but we all live in our world. Your malchus is the malchus that pervades and extends through kol olamim, all the worlds. There's a divine consciousness that pervades everything. All of reality is from your malchus, all of reality. All the universes, meaning all the states of reality, the highest till the lowest, all live and endure and receive their vitality and animation. They are vivified from Hashem's malchus. You fill all the worlds. And you encompass all the worlds. Again, we say this in davening in the morning, Vayevorech David, before Yishtabach, before Az Yashir, from Divrei Hayamim, Va'ata mechayes kulam. And you give chiyus, you give life, you vivify es kulam, everything. That's the hisbainanus, the meditation of Avas Olam. It's a love of the world, a love of life, that comes from the recognition that Va'ata mechayes kulam. You give life to all. Everything is alive because of your energy. It is divine energy. My heartbeat, every breath I take, every move I make, every item, every aspect, every nuance, every detail of life, from the biggest to the smallest, like he says, Kol Olamim, all the worlds, and all the worlds mean all the states of reality, any state of reality you're in. Sometimes the many worlds are in me. As I said, you could be in many worlds. In one day, you're in many worlds. You're in this world, you're in that world, you're in this state of consciousness. A world is not just a physical planet. We have our planet, we have other planets. That's also a world. But a world means states of reality, states of consciousness. So within one mind, you can have many worlds. Sometimes I inhabit 10 worlds in a day. Some people inhabit 10 worlds in a moment, which is not exciting. Or too exciting. So Kol Olamim, all the states of reality. What's their truth? The truth is that it's all being vivified, created, animated, and coming into existence right now by Hashem Himself. That's the truth of it. Can I tune into that reality? Can I love the world in that sense? Because that love of the world is really the love of Hashem. You love life. You say, I love the world. What do you love about the world? What do you love about the world? You love about the world because every moment of life is pulsating with the divine. There's something very much alive about the world. I think I shared once with you that Helen Keller, I read this once, that Helen Keller once met somebody who came to her, and this person said that they took a walk through the woods. They took a hike through the woods. So Helen Keller asked them what they saw and what they heard. She could do neither. And they said nothing, there was nothing special that they heard or saw. And she writes about this, and she's startled. She said, how could somebody walk through the woods and come back to me and say, I heard nothing and I saw nothing? The only thing that's worse than not having eyesight, she writes, is lacking vision. So Avas Olam is the love of the world. But which world? The love of the real world. The love of the essence of the world. Va'ata mechayes kulam. And that's the first basic level of love of God. It's the love of Hashem that's taken from the world, from the experience of life, from appreciating the essence of the experience of life. Va'ata mechayes kulam. But for this, I have to move away the debris. I have to get the debris, the gravel, the distractions out of my brain so I could really be in touch with life itself. And our brain often doesn't allow us to go there. Our brain takes us to places where we're going to get stuck and paralyzed by past experiences, by past impressions, by past versions of ourselves, which are really all telling us that we're living in an old, stale world and nothing can change And that's where we exist. And this is the first level of hisbaininus, to open yourself up to the real version of reality. Va'ata mechaya es kulam. You give life to everybody and everything. There's a story that the Baal HaTanya had a chassid. His name was Rabbi Liepler. And Rabbi Liepler was a very, very sensitive and perceptive Jew. And he comes into his Rebbe, the Baal HaTanya, and he says, Rebbe, hakmir arop de linke Zeit. Which means, how do I say this in English? Chop off my left side. Amputate my left side. You know what he meant? The left side, the Koheles tells us the left side is v'leiv chacham liyaminoi v'leiv ksil l'smoiloi. Right? The heart of the wise man is on the right, and the heart of the fool is on the left. So like the Yetzer Hara is considered the one on the left side. This is discussed, the heart, right ventricle of the heart, left ventricle of the heart. So he says, Hakmir arab the linke Zeit. Chop off. Let me get rid of my left side. In other words, he's asking the Alter Rebbe, destroy my Yetzer Hara. Destroy it, amputate it. I don't want it anymore. A request of a chassid. Those of you who follow the classes, the daily lesson in Tanya, and it would be very worthwhile to follow the daily lesson in Tanya. There's the shurim of Tanya, the way they were divided for the year, so you finish the Tanya in a year. Every year you learn through the whole Tanya. So now, we just finished learning chapter 9. Now it's in the middle of chapter 10, the end of chapter 10, 11. But chapter 9, the Alter Rebbe discusses the two sides of the heart. So he says, amputate the left side. So what does the Alter Rebbe say? The Alter Rebbe goes into a dveikus, which means he goes into a spiritual, meditative state, what some people would call a trance. But dveikus is not really trance. Dveikus is he goes into a very deep state of connection. For a few minutes, he doesn't say something. He doesn't say anything. And then the Baal HaTanya comes out of the dveikus, so to speak. He doesn't come out of the dveikus, but he comes down to a lower plane, and he looks this chassid in the eyes, and he used to speak with a nigun, with a melody. So he says, Va'ata mechayes kulam. The pasuk says that you give life to all. Zay em oich mechaya. Bring life to your left side. Don't amputate it. Bring life to it. Zayem oich mechaya. Va'ata mechayes kulam ksiv. Zayem oich mechaya. Rabbi Liepler wanted Alter Rebbe to chop out, to amputate, to extricate from him his left side. He says, no. Va'ata mechayes kulam. Hashem gives chiyus to everything. Zayem oich mechaya. So you bring chiyus to him also. Or in other words, reveal to your left side what its real energy is about. You don't just cut it out. Cutting it out is not how it works. Hashem gives chiyus to everything. You have to reveal what its true energy is, what it's looking for, what its true essence is, what its true yearnings for. That's much deeper. Listen, if you can get rid of it and you become a malach, wonderful, so you'll be a malach. But the greatness of the person is that you could be megala, you could reveal a lakus over there. Malchuscha malchus kalaylam. That's what he says here, Va'ata mechayes kulam. So he was giving him a seder avodah, that when you're dealing with the various components of your personality, you don't have to run away from anything. You have to not get stuck in the externalities and the shallowness. You have to be able to reveal the chiyus, va'ata mechayes kulam. You have to be able to reveal the divine energy, which is the heartbeat of creation. It's the heartbeat that vivifies all aspects of your existence every single moment. That's the beginning. We're soon going to get to a deeper place. It's the beginning of Avas Olam. It's a love to Hashem that comes from the world, from reality, from discovering the God of reality. It's the ultimate self-love in a healthy way. It's the ultimate love of the world in a healthy way. It's loving the self, the true self, the Va'ata mechayes kulam. It's being in love with life, being in love with the world, because you're connected to the miracle of creation and your own creation every single moment. And it's a very deep place of serenity and tranquility and celebration. My dearest friends, we'll take a break here. This shiur will resume Wednesday morning. We'll continue Wednesday morning, 7:30 a.m. Hopefully all of our technical issues will be resolved. Tomorrow morning, Tuesday, 9:45 a.m., we have our women's class. Men are unofficially invited, but that's tomorrow, Tuesday, 9:45 a.m. We learned yesterday the first part of Basi Lagani 5721. It's up already. It's up so you can watch the replay of it on the yeshiva.net. Basi Lagani 5721. We did the first part. We'll continue Be'ezer Hashem next week as well. We also put up I had a panel discussion with Amudim last week about dealing with the children who are struggling with Yiddishkeit. We also have a speech in Yiddish that went up. I gave a speech to my dear friends, the Satmar Hasidim, who are involved with Reim, which is helping people with special needs, an extraordinary organization, Reim. So they had around 100 or 200 Satmar Hasidim, extraordinary guys who are all involved. So we did a speech for them, mostly in Yiddish. So those of you who want to hear a Litvish, Russisch, proper Yiddish, you could go to the yeshiva.net and watch that speech, Why Are There Souls with Special Needs, and the other material there that you may enjoy and gain from. In the meantime, I send you my love and blessings. Ahavas oilam, ahavtanu Hashem Elokeinu, and a beautiful day.
You talk about the world and the love you're talking about. There's no love in the world these times.
Over here, there's a lot of love. I'm looking at Rabbi Aaron. Look how much love there is in his eyes. What are you talking about? You're hanging out with the wrong people. You got to hang out with the right people. There's a lot of love in the world. You have to hang out in the right places with the right people. And you have to hang out with the right part of yourself.
Where are you? Can you come to my house? Can you come to my house? Can you come to see me today?
He's in Manchester. Antwerp.
Betsy, I don't see how you don't see love. You look like a person that people would love so much.
Emes. There's a lot of love, but you have to find the love inside yourself. You're the source of love.
There's no love in the world when you stop putting you down.
You're the source of love. You're the source of love. You're the source of love. Anyway, I love you and I send you all my love.
You too.
Good day, Betsy.
See you. Bye. You too. Thank you. I miss you guys.